to adjust. Well, how do you kind of go about that?
Yeah, I mean it's part of football. It's happened to me before, and you just trust the guy that I've watched the way Art and Ryan, for that matter, prepare during the course of the week. I watch that and see and during practice and meetings, and like I told the guys at halftime on offense. I mean, there's nobody that prepares harder than Art Sikowski as a two. And there may be some guys that prepare as equally as well as he does, but there's nobody that prepares harder. And every day, every game during pre-practice or pre-game workout, we get in and run some plays with the team, with the twos, and every time he starts, right, this 30 minutes before kickoff on the field, hey guys, we're all one play away from being ready to have your opportunity, and this is just not lip service for him. So I felt comfortable in light of the way that Art prepares and carries himself, of us continue to play within our game plan.
Play call, how much do you change or not change when you do with a different guy there?
Well, I think each guy, I mean, obviously, each of those guys has different strengths and weaknesses, and they are different players. But dramatically, not much. It's not dramatically different. It's more subtly different from the game plan. Maybe a certain movement pass or a certain RPO or what may be better for one than the other. But there was the difference was pretty negligible of what we could or couldn't do.
Team as a whole and your offense playing against that type of defense?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously it was an incredible team victory, and I mean, I think we all know how our defense carried us in that game, and the way they rose up, and our special teams, and we were a part of that as well. I mean, the rushing for 200 yards against Iowa was a big deal. I thought our line and the backs and tight ends and our whole team, the way we played in the run game was, I think really a really good performance in that regard. But I think we saw that we have a gritty team that is cares about winning, and not necessarily how it looks. And Coach told us all week that's what it was going to look like, and told us offensively that's what it was going to look like, and he was right. And for us to come out on that side of it was huge.
Is Minnesota similar to what you just faced, and what are some of the differences?
Yeah, they are similar, obviously statistically, and where they are through this point of the season is incredibly impressive for what they've done, the way that they played defense, and very similar to Iowa from that regard, so where they are statistically, in Wisconsin for that matter. And so there are some similarities from a structure standpoint, but they also do have their nuances and their differences, and so you can watch that come about on film as you get going. So, but another very quality defense in our league that we're facing will be a great challenge for us.
I know, last week you said that, having kicked the field goal at Wisconsin, so you kind of considered the offense 4 or 5 on red zone versions. I guess, how do you view Saturday? Just, 3 field goals was great, but...
Yeah, well, obviously the last one was the great one. That was the good one, and the other two, because that's what we needed at that point, as a field goal. I think we all felt that, that if we get this field goal here, once we got down in that area, that I think that we were, that it was going to be tough for them to go score in the way we were playing defensively. And so, but the other two, when we got down there, the first series when we got down there, that was really disappointing that we didn't get 7. We didn't execute very well in that first red zone series when we got inside the 10. We had a couple mistakes that I think, that could have given us an opportunity to punch it in. But, fortunately, they didn't come back to haunt us, but it certainly could have. And, the football is about situational football. I mean, moving the football up, and we had a great first drive. We converted on, I think, 2 4th downs on that first drive, I think. And I mean, it was a great long drive. And I was like, you could tell we were playing, and then for it to, peter out with the field goal was disappointing, obviously. And but situational football is how you win these games, and situational football is the red zone battle. And we came up short in that regard for sure. Did just enough to get it done at the end, but it could have been, the game could have been in control at that point in the game in the fourth quarter if we had executed better in the red zone.
Knowing that you guys needed a field goal on that last drive, the designed run with Art on third down, was that just to get yourself in a position favorably for a field goal, and did you think about getting it to Chase and let him do it?
I think at that point in time we didn't want to put the ball in the air. I think that we just didn't want to do that. And just in film study and preparation, through watching them in the red zone, one of the things that had been a repeated theme is when you got an empty, the quarterback draw had been something that had shown up several times. Colorado State scored on it, and so it's kind of a hybrid opportunity maybe for them to get to play coverage and then pop one to make the field goal either A, shorter, or continue to have possession of the ball and get a first down. And so, that was kind of something that I had planned and, studied during the course of the week and felt pretty good about when that opportunity came up. So kind of the best of both worlds for us to, run a quarterback draw and spread people out and have a chance to pop the run like we did. I think Art had one earlier. It was basically more or less the same play, but it was not an empty. I think we gained 8 or 9 yards, and so that was my mindset.
On the interception towards the goal line.
Yeah, that was, inevitably there's always going to be, you as a play caller, you have 70 or 80 play calls during the course of the game. There's always going to be a few that you want back, and I just felt, obviously the ball got tipped, and Art knew that it was us or nobody. That was the mindset. It was us in the low pylon or nobody to try to pop a score there. And I think, obviously in hindsight, that's one that I would like back. We just got a little too compressed over there. It's one that, again, we'd studied and planned for. The ball was on the hash instead of off the hash, and so I didn't put Art in a good situation in that point in time. And the incredible part of that, or not the incredible, but the thing that was so critical was the way our defense, kept them there, and basically flipped it right back around where we kind of just got the chance to start over. And that was obviously the most critical. I thought that part, and then the play that Art hit with Brian really turned the field over. For the field never flipped over in the fourth quarter from that point on. Even though we didn't go score after he hit Brian and hit Jonah, we didn't go score because of the mistake down there. The field position flipped over, and that throw that he made to Brian was huge. And I'm not trying to redirect the question towards that point, but I thought just the throw that he made there was huge in flipping the field position for the rest of the fourth quarter.
If Art is, go ahead.
We're good.
What does it do for your unit when you guys have now consistently been pretty aggressive on fourth down to go for it? Do they feed off that?
I think so. I think Coach has really done a good job with us talking and practicing those things, and with me in particular, really challenging me to think forward about, hey, we knew that that our kicking situation was a little bit in flux going into the game, and he just said, hey, listen, when we're in this plus area, this 30, 40, whatever that area, that plus side of the field, you need to be thinking 4 downs, and he communicates that very clearly to me, and I knew what to expect after third down, and we didn't make it, so I knew what call we were going to. So it allows us to practice and prep those things, and we celebrated that yesterday with our offense. Like we had 3 for 3, and all 3 of those fourth down conversions did lead to points and field goals, and which were a huge part of the game. So that's something that Coach has done a great job of directing us and talking to us about situational football, and putting me in a situation where, like, on first and second down, I know that I have 4 downs, and that changes your mindset as a play caller. When you have 4 downs to get it, it does certainly shifts your mindset on 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 7 to where, okay, look, if I can get a few here, then I'm putting us in a better situation on 4th down to be able to get a more manageable call.
Number 2, how do you kind of ramp them up and get them ready?
Yeah, that's a great question. Ryan Johnson would be ready to roll. Actually this time last year, I think he told me he actually played in the Minnesota game and played a snap or 2, I believe. So Ryan prepares, and just like Art, they're like coaches is what they are. They prepare, and I think both of them have some interest in being a coach one day because they're like they're football junkies, and so I think Ryan would be the guy to be prepared to be in that role moving forward if that's the direction we go this week.
What does a week with Art, if Tommy can't go, like what does that do for you and him together?
Yeah, obviously whoever your starting quarterback is going into the game, you want to be able to have the week of the full preparation. Now, every conversation that I have is for all of them, right? It's not like we have one-on-one conversations about the guy that's the starter. So we like we all do in all of our rooms, we coach all the guys in our rooms with anticipation, next man up mentality. But if you do have a clearly defined role going into the game, then it does help you plan and prepare better to have a more focused learning on, hey, do you like this? Do you don't like that? You know, and also I know him, you know, I know each of those guys fairly well, even though I've been with them for a year. I know kind of what they're comfortable with and what they're not. And so to be able to build and manipulate the plan around each of those guys is obviously advantageous if you know going into the game.
And you guys, your staff, your team, your coaches, to be ranked yesterday, when you saw that ranking, hasn't happened here in 11 years. I don't know if you were ranked last year, but what did it mean to you personally and to the staff?
Well, I don't think a lot of us had thought much about that, but when it did come out, and obviously it did, I think everybody, had an appreciation for that, but I think also everybody understands that that's this week, and that was based on last week, and what we're ranked or not ranked, or what we did or didn't do last week has no bearing on what's coming up on Saturday. And so I would say, you know, is that something that was at a point of pride? Yeah, certainly it would be. To be recognized for what our young men have done and the way our players have played through this part of the season, I think that's a positive thing. But I think everybody in our building knows and understands, even though that is something that is nice to be validated like that, it has no bearing on the outcome this coming Saturday.
Without Isaiah Williams coming up Saturday, how much does that impact your game plan, and how much do you trust Hank Beatty to step into that role if needed?
Yeah, Hank Beatty and Miles both have been in there for us, and I don't have any qualms with either one of those guys knowing and understanding the game plan, and they have a different skill set. Yeah, certainly. But it's just, you know, we got about a 6 or 7 man rotation going at wideout, and feel comfortable with all those guys that have earned the right to be in there. Certainly, we'd prefer to have number one out there with us and what he brings to the offense, and we're hoping to be able to see that this Saturday, because he's certainly a huge part of what we're trying to do offensively.
The throw to Hightower and maybe even the throw to Jonah Morris. As a play caller, if Art is getting in a rhythm like that, does that allow you to kind of open up and call some more things just because he's feeling good about how he's like back to back and how he's feeling?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it was, you know, I in my mind, I made a decision once Tommy, and I think we all knew probably Tommy wasn't going to be back in after the way he went out, and just talking to him early, the medical staff, I felt like it probably wasn't going to be a stretch for him to come back in, and we felt like the quality defense that we were playing and how stingy they were in general, it was really important for us just to stay within the confines of our plan, and just felt like at some point we would make a play or two in the passing game to help relax that stress on the box a little bit, and it was great for him to do that. He made some other plays too, but those are the two biggest ones that allowed, I think, infuse some confidence in himself. You know, I think that's a tough situation to be thrust into. I mean, you hadn't played in a while. I mean, really significant minutes. You get thrust into a critical moment, a critical game with an intense environment against a high-quality defense, and I think all in all, he handled it pretty well, to be honest with you.
But he's done this before. You kind of thought, like, why is he able to do that with this personality?
He's a different breed. He just really is. He's very unique in who he is, and you guys know him when you deal with him. I mean, he's incredibly mature and very polished, and just he gets it. You know, I mean, he doesn't want to be the backup quarterback. I mean, he doesn't want to be the backup quarterback, but he never lets that. The fact that he is the two, he never lets that affect his attitude, his intentionality, his engagement, his questions, his preparation. I mean, he's a pro. I mean, for being a college young man, and he's been around. He's had a lot of experience. I think that's part of it. He's seen it. I tell the young guys in the room all the time, the quarterbacks, I was like, hey, you guys, you young guys, like, and then we have 4 of them, I believe, yeah, that it's like you guys you need to have an appreciation for the way these older guys prepare. For Art, Tommy, and Ryan, I was like, because it's not like that everywhere. It's not like the 2 and the 3 to be so supportive and engaged towards the starter and engaged towards me. I don't know how common that is across college football. I'm sure it happens some places, but you know, it's not always like that. And those guys are special in that regard. And so Art just has that in him. It's innately in him, and I'm thankful that it is.
Now in a row where Chase did get going again in the third quarter. Any similarities between those two?
Well, I mean, he's strong and conditioned. I think Tank's done a great job with our team, you know, and he kind of is a microcosm of that. I mean, Chase is strong and lean, and he's gritty, and I think our line is getting better and better shape and playing better and better together too. So I think that by the time you take those two things combined, we're playing a lot of plays. We're on the field a lot. I think we ran maybe 70-something plays the other night against Iowa, maybe 75, I can't remember, in the 70s. And so the more plays we play, the more plays defenses have to play and chase our receivers and chase, that's just and chase, And so I think all three of those things probably collectively have, kind of gone into the ingredients of maybe his success in the third and fourth quarter.
You said after Indiana,
Last one here.
getting carries in the 30s for Chase was probably a little too high. And a similar number, it's the same feeling. I mean, obviously the game dictated getting him the ball, but do you have the same feeling that maybe that was too many?
I think that's right on the threshold, for him. And it was great to see Reggie come in and make some critical plays for us. I mean, he made a couple of really nice runs. And one of the things we did in the study after the game was we felt like there was some, from a quarterback perspective, there was 2 or 3 RPOs that we had that, if we'd have just taken those that were presented, then all of a sudden now there was 3 less or 4 less carries. Now we're in the high 20s, So I think we were targeted about right for the way the game unveiled. We want to go a whole lot much higher than that, but the way he was running, it was hard to, not continue to see him run. And so, all right, everybody, good to see everybody. Yep.
How's everybody doing?
They were talking on the radio today about how the older guys were recruited from the last staff, but I remember your first press conference, you said that this was a pretty good defense from what you'd seen already.
Yeah, from from my film study, as a staff, we went in and we watched basically everybody on the roster. If they had, in-game reps, we watched those, and if they didn't, we watched practice reps and just try to get a feel for the roster we had. And I was very surprised about, who they were as athletes. I didn't know the mental makeup and all the intangibles, but just from a measurable standpoint and being able to run, I thought we, as a staff, we could put together a scheme that allowed them to play well, play successful football, and highlight their strengths for sure.
What do you make of Terrell coming in? It's been a little bit since we've seen that many snaps out of him. What did he show you guys? What do you make of the way he played?
I love the way he played. There's a couple guys that had to step up and play, because of somebody being tired or somebody having an injury. And it's just that next man up mentality. Definitely saw improvement from when he was thrust in that role earlier in the season, just playing with consistent technique, really showing what he was doing in practice and having that translate to an actual game. That was really good to see, and was very proud of him for answering the bell in one of the most critical times of the season up to this point.
Getting the one-on-one matchups he is because your defensive line is helping, but Seth Coleman really seems to have emerged as a big playmaker. Why do you think that's been?
Yeah, he goes to work every day. He has improved every game. I thought he played lights out. He's one of our players of the game. As a defense, he just consistently works on his craft every week, and he's consistently getting better. Every game. So really proud of him and the work he's put into it. He's been a great example for guys like Gabe Akis, who is also improving all the time. And really, that's been the focus for the defense as a whole group is, how can we get better every day? That's the focus.
The eye test, it looked like this was the best game from the inside linebackers. Did you see the same thing on film?
Yeah, those guys have been consistent all year, really. So you got to ask Coach Boo if he thinks this was their best performance. You're an inside linebacker and you hold the team to 2 yards rushing. That's pretty good too. You know what I mean? But this was definitely a game I thought we played the best as a total defense. Just very complimentary. From the front all the way to the back end. And those guys are playing well and gelling and having chemistry together. And the most fun part for me is watching them play because they have fun playing together, and that's in practice, that's in meetings, and also in games.
He was ranked for the first time since you've been here, but going back 11 years. Just how does it make you feel as what you guys have done also for the kids?
Really, just for the kids, it is flattering and it feels good to be recognized for the work that you put in. So really happy for them for that. But you know, we're halfway through the season. We still have a lot of ball to play. We got a high quality opponent coming in to our place on a homecoming day that hopefully is a great atmosphere. And so our focus right now is on Minnesota and more importantly on us and how can we continue to improve.
Are we thinking like recruiting because you get a little more attention? Does that part help at all? Either you're on the crawl, that kind of stuff, or not?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely, you know, there are graphics on Instagram that we post, and you know, you're hoping to get some recruits that follow you to like it or repost it, you know, things like that. But like I said, it's just like it's flattering to get recognized, but we still have a lot of work to do.
Having played yourself, when Tyreek is being able to time up snaps like he was on Saturday night, is that a feel thing? Is that film preparation? Is that just him being an instinctual player? What is that about? Because it seemed like he had them pretty timed all night long.
Yeah, you know, it's a combination of a lot of things. You know, it is definitely film prep. You know, at that point in the game, we had some drives so you can get a feel for the cadence, and then just playing the call. You know, just executing the defense. And you know, we have seen him make that play a bunch of times, so it's not a surprise because he also makes it in practice. And it was a great play for him in that moment, and we needed it at that time and that point in the game.
You played this team pretty well last year up there. How are they different when Mo Ibrahim's in the game? What's the challenge of this time?
Yeah, you know, definitely there are some philosophical things that are the same. You know, heavy RPO, heavy zone schemes, still really big up front. You know, in the running back, you know, if he plays, and I anticipate him playing, you know, tough physical runner. You know, he's low center of gravity, you know, wide frame, strong, powerful legs. You know, tough to bring down. So it is going to be a defensive effort when trying to contain him. And then the quarterback, man, I feel like he's even though I've only been in the conference, you know, this is my second year, it feels like he's been there for a long time because you go back and watch, you know, clips from previous years, and he's still the guy. You know, obviously he's comfortable in the system. He hardly ever makes the wrong read in the RPO game. And he's accurate, you know, gets the ball out on time. He's more athletic than you think he is, more athletic than you give him credit. I do remember that from a year ago. So it'll be a challenge. You know, this is one of our first rematch game where we won a year ago. So, you know, we'll get their best effort. I'm sure they'll have tweaks and wrinkles for what we did a year ago. With you know, this game last season was probably the most similar to how we are structured now. So I'm sure, you know, they'll have a couple wrinkles, a couple designers, and it'll be pivotal for us to be able to adjust in game.
What's the origin of the fire department reference? We heard Brett say that a few times. Is that from you?
No, that's from him. It's you know, he's like, you know, it's cool. You know, for it's interesting because you know the on the periphery you kind of go to like those stereotypical, those cliche moments when you have like a sudden change situation, and you know, you don't want guys pointing fingers. You don't want guys you know, woe is me, you know, really dealing with the momentum swings. I think what is unique about our group is like the focus is so much on them, and like how can we get better, what is our job. Like it doesn't matter where the series has started, what has happened prior to the snap. It is solely focused on each play, like what can I do to help our team, right? Like our job as a defense is to, you know, prevent offense from scoring and putting points on the board, and how fast can we get the football back to our offense. And as long as we're focusing on that and focusing on our job internally, then no moment it'll be too big or too bright. And that was what was probably what I was most proud of seeing from the guys Saturday night.
Quan Martin at free safety quite a bit. Was that about the matchup with Laporta, or is that something we'll continue to see?
No, I mean, he was playing free because of the personnel grouping that was out there. Like, you've seen Quan play free to 12 personnel, you know, from game one, and obviously they were heavy 12 personnel Saturday night, which is why he was in the post or playing free safety for the most part.
What's the key to slowing it down like you did last year?
Really just being in tune to our matchups, specifically like in the slot and what type of RPOs we're going to see. Not getting nosy, like it really being disciplined with your eyes in terms of your fits, because if you start cheating to the throw game, they'll hand the ball off and now you're out of gap, now you're soft. And so it'll be pivotal for us, just everybody really doing their job, doing their part, because there are two plays within a play, right? And so you got to let the cover guys cover and let the fitters fit. And if we do that, then we'll be all right.
Ryan, you obviously have seen every step of development with this unit from the start of the offseason. Given that, is there anything that surprised you about that, be it the way they responded, like you just talked about as the fire department, or just the stats of very few touchdowns and #1 scoring defense and all that?
I'm not really surprised. I knew we had a chance to be good. Toward the end of the year last year, we were playing pretty good football, and that was also during the time of the year we were playing against, arguably our best opponents, right? And just the way the guys work, the way they worked in winter conditioning, the attention to detail they played with in spring ball, the way they showed up in shape to summer workouts and attack summer workouts with Tank and his crew. And the way they put their head down and went to work during fall camp, I was pretty confident because they were confident because of their preparation, right? Like when you go out there and play the way you're playing, it's because you prepare the right way, and this group prepares better than any other group I've been around.
And playing himself into a bigger role.
I mean, he is definitely there's a reason why he's out there in critical moments, specifically third downs, like 2 minute. Because he's explosive, he makes plays. He's got a natural feel for not only pass rush, but for like zone drops and reading the quarterback. He continues to make plays, and as a result, we continue to give him opportunities. And all he does is step up and do his best, and literally just does his job to the best of his ability. And he'll have a bright future here for sure.
Fair to say Sidney Brown's playing his best football right now with the amount that you're asking him to do on a given play.
Absolutely. And again, it's because the way he works. Like if anybody knows Sidney, he does not take a day off. He don't take a minute off. He is as detailed in his routine as a person, not somebody just for his age, but just as an individual. Period. There's a rhyme and a reason for everything he does, and I'm just blessed to be able to be a part of his journey in this game.
You talked about kind of just play-by-play in their job. What stood out about the way you guys were able to take those two really difficult, close-in, like real-time situations and hold them to 3 points? What was the biggest thing that you took away from that?
Just that they don't flinch. Like the moment was not too big. Like literally when I say like nobody was complaining, and everybody was just like, all right, let's go. Let's go play. And these guys, they love football. They enjoy playing the game. They play it the right way. I can't say it enough about how much they prepare the right way, and then when a ball is snapped, it's like organized chaos out there. You know what I mean? And that is definitely fun. Sitting back and being able to observe that as a competitive person. You know what I'm saying? And so these guys compete, and hopefully that trend stays consistent through this season, and we can't wait to get to practice tomorrow.
Ibrahim, earlier, PJ Fleck said today that he expects him to play on Saturday. How key is he in their offense? Because they're 4-0 with him. The one game they played without him, they lost.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, he's their best player. So, I definitely think the offense is designed to run through him. And he's as talented a back as we'll see, or that as I've seen. He is tough to bring down. He is a tough individual that seeks out contact, and he's athletic enough to run away from you. So we definitely got our work cut out for us, and it'll be a joint effort to try to contain him. Good. Appreciate you guys.
Well, I'm the first guy that turns the page and moves on, but I just did want to say back, on reflection of Saturday's atmosphere, thank you to, everything in the Department of Athletics, is also the university, but I might be the only head coach in the country that says this type of thing, but our director of the band, Barry Hauser, gets it. Like I've never been around a guy. I had him actually speak to the team a year ago. It's when I first had a chance to be around him, and what he pours into game day. I actually, it came out of halftime, and as a choice, as a head coach, we were kicking off. We had the choice which direction. The wind was kind of a push. It was kind of the equal distance both ways, kind of swirling in both end zones. And I literally thought to myself, where can we go? Because I thought it would be a final possession game. I told our coaches all week, told our players, nothing that happened on Saturday was a shock to them. We kind of talked about the way that I thought this game would go. Of course, I was going to welcome the other way in a positive direction if it happened, but I chose to kick towards State Farm so that we knew that at the end of the game, if we were in a situation where we had to score, we would be down in our student section, and if, on the flip side of it, if it was a backed up scenario, they would be in our student section. That literally affected our game because of our student section and our band. So Barry obviously has direct control of the band. He was just awesome. He gets it. He understands it. And then our student section, we had a couple Block High students come out last week, and the way that they arrived and the way that they stayed was just truly an indication of what this place could be. We weren't quite there, obviously. Whatever the number was, it was as loud as it's been since I've been here, and so whatever we can do to get it to a place to be even higher this weekend for homecoming would be awesome. But as a head coach since coming here, I just recognize and understand people that get it, right? And that jumped out to me huge. Yesterday during our team meeting, we recognized as normal our MVPs and the way that they played, but I made a specific point to point out 6 guys that when they woke up on Saturday morning, they didn't know their role was going to be a starter, but it changed during the course of the game, right? So the first one was Fabrizio, who also just got named, obviously, Big Ten Player of the Week. He had expected to possibly be a long field goal hitter on Saturday, but wasn't expected to take over the entire field goal duty, so he did that, passed that with flying colors. And that's not just him, right? Then he's the holder with Hugh Roberson. It's a snapper of Lane Hansen. The protection was absolutely rock solid the whole day, so a great moment for them. Obviously, the offensive emphasis is always through the quarterback, so to see, Art respond the way that he did was just absolutely awesome. But then a guy that kind of got lost in the mix, 2 guys really, when Isaiah went down, that forced Miles and Hank Beatty into that role at the slot position. They handled it, not as all Big Ten performance yet, but they did what they had to do. They were very specific. I give Hank a lot of credit. This guy never caught punts at Rochester, right? So, I remember being in fall camp, and I was watching him, catch the ball, and so we were starting our special teams period, and I said, hey, Hank, go back there and catch punts. I just kind of said, why weren't you back there? And he goes, I never caught punts. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, at Rochester, and I think the world of his head coach, and he's won a lot of titles, but he obviously didn't have him back there as a punt returner, and he went back there and caught that thing right with the guys. There's supposed to be a 1-yard rule, but his feet were standing on a 10-yard line, and the defender's feet were standing on a 10-yard line. He caught that ball in tight traffic at the end of the game. Was absolutely awesome. Defensively, obviously Taz Nicholson goes down, and to have Rello go in there and do what he did, the plays that he made was just awesome to see that and witness that. Darkangelo went down, which not only affected us at linebacker play, but about our dark starts on all 4 units of the kicking game. So all the guys that stepped into his role, just truly, we talk all season, all year about, hey, when your moment comes, be ready for it. And those guys really did a great job. So I couldn't say enough things about those guys. A guy like Jonah Moore, I thought the transfer portal showed up on Saturday. Rello, obviously we got a week before fall camp. Actually, Rello and Jonah Miller both entered the University of Illinois right before fall camp started up. So they got 4 weeks of fall camp with us, and then they're in the game week. And the way those guys played in that game was truly, truly awesome to be a part of. So we'll turn the page and jump into Minnesota. Obviously, this is the 4th rematch game for us this year, but this is the first game. It's a rematch against a team that we, as Bob pointed out, right, that's the first time that we'll play a team that we beat a year ago. Very fortunate to get out of there with a win last year. I think overall they're actually a better football team probably. I know they lost some good players, especially on the offensive line, and lost some other players, O-line on the defense and the special teams, but They're a very complete football team. You know, to be a 4-1 team. They had bye week last week, so it's a tremendous challenge for us to play a 4-quarter game and then turn around and play 11 a.m. kickoff, which I'm excited for because I think our appetite for a home game here in Memorial should be really, really high. I know it's 11 o'clock, so either come in the night before and enjoy champagne and start your tailgate whenever you want, or get up early and drive down and let's make Memorial as great as it can be. With that, open up for questions.
Any update on Tommy?
Yeah, really all the guys that are injured. I don't think any of them will be, you know, a season ending or anything along that lines. I think we are fortunate this week, obviously with Minnesota and have the bye week coming out of it, that the majority of those guys should all be back in time for our return after the bye week. But I don't know how realistic it is for any of those 4 or 5 guys to project into being in this week's plan.
Does that, with the bye week coming immediately after, does that change or influence any approach or in terms of maybe not rushing someone?
Yeah.
You know you have an extra week?
Yeah, you know, a guy, case in point, when Josh McCray got hurt, right, we looked at the schedule, looked at what the doctor said, and saw that, hey, he could return right before with possibly this game, or worst case scenario, be after the bye week on his return. And Josh is really day by day. He performed Sunday with the trainers. Obviously, we don't practice on Sundays overall, but Josh had a really good day on Sunday. Kind of waiting to see where he's at today when he comes back in, and then tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and his projection for Saturday will be a lot about how his body reacts during the course of the week. So, yeah, the bye week, we knew this was going to happen, right? We knew we had 3 games a bye week, 4 games a bye week, and then 5-game stretch. So we've been talking about this and thinking about this for a long time.
Right, obviously the kicking situation is influencing when you want to go for it on 4th down, but are there other factors that are lending towards, I guess, more aggressiveness there?
Yes and no. I think as a head coach, you know, when I tried to say this to you guys last year, sometimes you guys write your articles before you ask questions. But I would say, you know, a year ago there was certain times where I was greatly affected by ability to be successful on 4th down, right? Like either with a call or the person or the trigger. And now, you know, I think I made this reference last week at Wisconsin when I went for it on 4th and 4. I was literally asking the question and Barry was spitting the answer, right? And I think we were 3 for 3. I know 3rd down was not great, but 4th down we were 3 for 3. You can't get better than 100%. So obviously we didn't at the end when I told him to, but we were 100% there on Saturday and very good the week before. So that's a huge influence on your ability as a head coach, is to have confidence in your offensive coordinator, but also your offensive play call.
You used to being ranked when you're at Wisconsin. You were ranked all the time. That hasn't happened here in 11 years. When you saw that yesterday, how did it make you feel?
You know, it's a great question. I think I draw all the time from my experiences, and I distinctly remember during my 3rd year at Wisconsin when we fell to the first time we hadn't been ranked, I believe, and I distinctly remember feeling that, right? And it was the first time that we weren't ranked since I'd been a head coach, right? And that was a moment I remember. And then I would go to the flip side, right? So I really don't worry about a lot of things I don't have on my radar all that much, but I always get a lot smarter on Saturday night after a game. I had obviously a tremendous group of family and friends in for the game. Got done with the game and did a lot of media. We had a lot of recruiting in, and my wife loves to get back, and she loves to watch the final drive on the Big Ten Network, right? And we're sitting there, and they're going through the final segment, right? The final drive, whatever that is, and Dave Revson says to the group, you know, Illinois is the last Power 5 team that hasn't been ranked since 2011. And I'm like, I stopped and I said, what did he say? And she said, we haven't been ranked since 2011. He's asking if we're going to get ranked. And I had no idea, none. Yesterday, I didn't even really think about it much after that. I thought we'd probably be another week. If we were able to have success this week, we might get ranked. But when that came through yesterday, I was literally just sat there for a moment, kind of digested it and thought about it. I thought it was a good thing. You know, I grew up and played for Coach Fry, and Coach Fry always said, partner, if you've done it, you ain't bragging. And that's why I showed it. It was one of the first graphics I showed our players, right? Because I know other people are going to talk about it, right? So it's a product of what they've built and what they've tried to accomplish, but it's definitely not our ending point. It's hopefully just a catalyst in our future.
Tell your team about that, Brett. Those expectations, and you get more attention. How do you tell your team about how to handle
Yeah, well, they've been hearing it for about 4 weeks, right? I knew this was coming. right? Like you may not, and they may not. Sometimes reality is the best, is the best educator. But for me as a head coach, since last January to where we were in the spring to where we're in the summer, I think you've heard me say it. Like I knew these things were coming. They had to come to the reality of the moment for some of our guys. I think probably half of our team thought this day was going to come, but to see Palcho after the game in tears, right? Like that's a cool thing. So I knew it was coming. I think other people around us knew it was coming, but now we're in the real world, right? So I gave him a quote. Muhammad Ali had one, right? The more real you get, the more unreal it gets. So it's also a John Lennon song, who really wants to research it. But I think the thing that is really fun for our guys to take place in is they're just thirsty, right? They're hungry. They're excited. These little things are going to find, continue to pop up along the way. This is going to be a big game on Saturday because we've made it a big game. Minnesota did their part, right? They're a 4-1 football team, and we're a 5-1 team, and it's going to get a little bit of a buzz. So that's a product of, I think, of a lot of good work on both schools.
A big group of visitors, visiting recruits on Saturday for game day. What kind of feedback did you get from
this past weekend?
Yes.
Yeah, I give Pat Hamilton, I can't say enough about the value of Pat since I've got here in our personnel department. I brought in a lot of other. Pat Pearson is an incredible asset to our program. Nate McNeil. We've hired some other people. Pat Ryan. So I really, on Saturday game days, even when we were a team in the past, when I've been at other places, highly ranked to the reality of where we're at now, just getting ranked for the first time. Saturdays are for the team that's here, right? So I will occasionally meet with a player if there's going to be an offer involved, if it's someone that we're highly sought after and we don't get them on campus very often. But my meetings are usually, prior to us arriving at the stadium. So we had a long day, so I could meet people earlier in the day. We had some official visitors. I met and had coffee with a set of grandparents in the morning. On Sunday, I met with a lot of visitors because they stayed the night after a night game. But game day visits are usually for my assistants and our recruiting staff. And Pat made reference after the game that it was probably the best group of unofficial visitors / official visitors since he's been here. The environment, the way the crowd was interactive with our fans. I specifically saw a couple of pictures of people that were here visiting us that were waving their orange towel fanatically in the fourth quarter. So I think they enjoyed it as much as we did.
Excite you about this week, about Barry and Art being able to put a plan together, having the whole week to be able to do that?
Yeah, I think, the thing about Art, Barry hasn't experienced Art as a starter, right? I have. So there's these little uncommon, like they didn't know Mike Marquez, right? And I kept saying, wait till we get Marquez back in there, right? Like, wait till you see what he's all about. Art is a guy that accepts the challenge. He's going to be the projected starter. He's going to be the projected backup. His preparation is all the same, and it's very it's not normal, right? So Art is a guy that's got my respect from day one a year ago to where we are today, and I think the team as well. I said that to the team. I go, is there anybody in here that's surprised by the way Art handled the moment, right? And it wasn't clean by any means. I think he'd be the first to tell you that, and Barry would as well. So those two working together, I think, was a great learning experience along the way. Wherever that goes or however that transcends, I'm glad we were able to have those moments out of a 9-6 win than vice versa.
Saturday when after Sikowski came in, he's scrambling and he kind of put his shoulder into a linebacker.
Yeah.
I saw, I guess, a two-part question. A, do you go to your quarterback there and say, hey, we're down to number 2 and I don't want to go to number 3? And B, sideline got pretty fired up. That was a moment for the team of, hey, this guy has got it, and go. Tell me about that moment and what your reaction.
Robert, good point. So I think first off, I don't ever want to coach a player into something that he's not, right? And I think that's Art's demeanor. I think if he felt that it was going to give us an advantage either by down a distance and a first down or give us something to sideline, he was probably going to do that again. I would much rather try to take that out of him than try to put it in him, right? On the flip side of it, it was a definite emotional reaction out of our players. So I think that's Art being engaged with our sideline more than anything. I think there is a point in time where you would have a conversation, and we actually worked with Art last year about sliding because it's not in his DNA to do that, right? But that's definitely a learning moment for everybody involved. But it was for what we needed at the time. It's probably what the doctor ordered.
Somebody's coached a position at the NFL what has Seth Coleman shown you the last couple of weeks from that position? Why is he having success?
You know, Seth has got three key factors as an edge player. He's got an extreme length, right? Like he's tall, but he's not like, not like too tall, right? Like he's tall, but he's extremely long in his levers. I think Kevin does a tremendous job. Kevin, the two guys that he worked with a year ago, Seth is kind of a combo platter between Gabe and geez. No, but our two starters last year, Owen and OC, but and Gabe, Isaiah Gay. So those two guys were kind of two distinct players, right? And Seth's kind of he's not one of those. He's kind of a combo platter of both. So it's been fun to watch Seth grow. And then the other thing that's really happened, I think, with Seth from a year ago, his football IQ awareness on the edge. If there are two players that defensively you really hope they have great football IQ awareness, it's your edge players, right? It's your safeties and your edge players, because usually they're in charge of a lot. And Seth recognizes, I think, when he's got speed on a tackle, but he also recognizes when he has power. And in the run game, he's been really good on the edge. So those things really make him play well. And he's a tremendous influence on Gabe Akis. And then Alec Bryant's another guy that's kind of played more and more. It's been fun to see Alec get in there and mix it up a little bit more. So those three guys, since the fall camp has started, have really continued to grow.
But just for clarity, do you expect Art to start on Saturday?
Could try.
What discussion has there been, if any, about the possibility of clinching this Saturday a bowl berth?
Another good question. I'm just, obviously before I got here, there hadn't been a lot of bowls, right? And it's something we talked about. I think we just concentrate more that we're a 5-1 team. We haven't ignored that. I'm pretty sure our guys know 6 wins get you to a bowl, but I don't know that because last year we couldn't get there. But I do think it's being talked about to them, right? So I'm not going to ignore that. I brought up yesterday, I showed them a ranking. I showed us the Big Ten standings. I showed them anything and everything that they're going to see. I would much rather be up forward, honest, and open about it. To much of you guys' questions, obviously, there's a lot of guys this week that were injured and out of the game that we had guys step into those roles. And if those guys are there, those guys will be back in those roles. If not, as others come forward, we just deal with the moment as it comes. I think it's a little bit fluid. And because of that, I think all hands on deck. I've told these guys all along, listen, literally, I told them to give me the first 3, we'll take a bye week. Give me the next 4, we'll take a bye week, and we'll see where we're at for the next 5. So I think everything is just about let's get to Minnesota game, a Big Ten West opponent, a rematch game, a very, very good opponent that has been ranked already this year, and I think just to get Saturday at 11 o'clock is what we're all hoping for.
What are some keys against Minnesota? Is there something unique about them that you have to stop or?
PJ just does a really good job. If you look at his staff, a lot of these guys are people that have been with him for a long time or have now come back with him. I think much to the same as I assembled my staff. A lot of guys that I had been around in the past, which means that I think they like their head coach, working for their head coach, and you can see in the way their kids play. I learned a lot about PJ in the most roundabout way, right? So I'm at New York, and we draft a young man by the name of Carter Coughlin. And Carter, probably to this day, I only got to coach him for about a half a season with the Giants, but one of the most enjoyable kids I'd ever been around, coaching-wise. Well, in the NFL, we don't bet, right? But we make wagers. And so I had bet Carter on ironically, the Iowa-Minnesota game, because at the time I was working for the Giants, right? So I took the Hawks, and he took the obviously the Gophers, and the Hawks won that game. So he had to wear a shirt that I gave him all week, right? And it was kind of funny because on Saturday, which is the night before our game as an NFL team, he wasn't wearing a shirt. And I said, whoa. The bet was for a week, bro. Tonight's Saturday. That doesn't get you out of it. So he had to wear as punishment another whole week. And that didn't go over well, right, with him. But I saw the way he talked about PJ and the way that he talked about being in his program. I knew there was a tremendous amount of sense and pride in that, and I thought that was a really good indicator of what they're taught in that program, because fundamentally he was a really good player. Football IQ-wise, he was a really good player, and he loved his program. So I got a lot of respect for PJ and what he does. Said it before, we're kind of different people, but from a program standpoint, we're probably very similar in a lot of ways.
get 200 rushing yards against that defense.
Yeah.
When they, you know they're going to be keying on you with a bad
Yeah.
quarterback. What have you seen from your offensive line?
Couldn't be happier with our O-line, their growth that they had. I thought going into that game last week, that was going to be the most challenging defensive line that we were going to face. Defensive line, linebackers, 31 and 44, really good players. So for us to gain 200 yards against that defense is really. I know we got 9 points, all right, but like there's been a lot of teams that get in that exact same moment can't win that game, right? Sometimes you got to win things in ways that you don't plan, and to rush for 200, to have no sacks, and I know those 2 critical turnovers were really disruptive for us, advantageous for them. I think those are things we can really learn from going forward. I told Barry earlier in the week, right? I know they've called a lot of games, but these guys are a difficult game. They're just a difficult team to prepare for, and you have to. One thing I've learned as a head coach, you have to express that before it's happened. So our players weren't shocked with the way that game unfolded, and neither were our coaches.
Coach, last week, I don't know if you saw it, but you went a little viral on social media because your comments about, I think it was the offensive line eating like Golden Corral. If I may ask, has Golden Corral reached out to you or any of your players?
No, I can't tell you the last time I was in a Golden Corral. I couldn't think of any other all-you-can-eat places anymore. Everybody may find fun in that too. No, I just know that when I was in college, that was a place I frequented with my family, probably. Budget related, and also consumption related, but no, I didn't get anything further out of that. I think our guys are extremely hungry. They're fun to be around. I don't know if I've enjoyed coaching either before the game, during the game, or after the game as much as I have this group.
Does momentum matter as you're trying to build the program, and then what are those next steps to continue that?
You know, that is I know sometimes I give long-winded answers, but I'm going to take this one and roll. Like, winning affects everything, right? Winning affects your program, it affects your recruiting, it affects your retainment of your own roster, which is a way you've never had to think about before, right? So now you got good players that when you're not winning, like a year ago, I was worried guys might bail, right? They had trust and faith in us. Winning affects your athletic department, winning affects your university, winning affects your community, winning affects TV ratings, winning affects the media, how much you guys are always here, right? But right now, Brett and I got to sort out every day what we're going to do or not going to do because national media want attention. So there's so much positivity in winning, you can't put a quantitative dollar figure on it, right? Like I know Josh and his people will count, like what our ticket sales did, right? And the venue that brought in and the money it brought in. But that's why, like Barry Hauser, right? Like to me, Barry Hauser helped us win that game, right? We had an offense struggle to get a playoff and had some miscommunication backed up back here down in this end zone, right? And that was the student section and the band. Like that matters to me. I've been through this enough that I know that matters. And then just different things in our athletic department, people in our community. It's just winning helps everything go better, and that's why I want to ride this wave as long and as high as we possibly can because it'll definitely help us in the future.
You've already tied last year's winning total, and you've got half the season to go. Is this one of your best seasons ever?
Well, at Illinois it is, but yeah, no, that's a great perspective. I'd never even thought of it like that. Literally, no one's ever said that to me. We have 5 wins, and that's as many as we had last year. So obviously, we're taking a step in the right direction. But I think this is probably one of my most enjoyable seasons to be at a 5-win season, 6 games into it, because I know what these kids have been through, and their families and their friends. Like truly, I get to double dip, right? So I leave the stadium the first time and get a chance to be around a bunch of fans. But then when I go in the locker room and I come back, there's more family assembled there. But then when I go down and visit with you guys media-wise, when I go back up, it's usually parents only, right? Because they're kind of still waiting for their sons to come out. And to see the hugs and the affirmation of what parents see in their sons and what they're being told when I'm not around, like it just gives you confirmation in the things that you're building, for sure.
Right, you had 2 physical games against Wisconsin and obviously Iowa, and Minnesota's coming off of a bye. How does that kind of impact this game?
Great question. So I went through on Sunday and showed them. So one of the things I really sell to our players is you just do your job, let me do mine, right? And I'm not trying to be confident or cocky or dismissive. I showed them why we trained a certain way in January, why we train a certain way during the spring, why we do a certain thing in the summer and the fall, and then really once fall camp broke and we started our season, there's a reason that I scheduled the way we do. There's a reason tomorrow when they show up for Tuesday's practice, the schedule I put in front of them, it will be to maximize their effort on Saturday. So, yeah, it's always taken into account. It was a 4-quarter plus game on Saturday. I know we didn't go to overtime, but you know that was a very physical, mentally and physically. Everybody can understand the physical part of it, but to hold your mental focus for three plus hours is not an easy task, right? So, we got to make it light. We got to make it enjoyable. I love these guys to death, and I want to put me as a head coach. I can't play one snap, but what I can do is help them play that snap, right? And every minute of my day, really from about Sunday morning when well, Saturday night even, but Sunday morning when I came in the office to where we are today has been thinking about what we can do Tuesday to help them with that moment.
When you started the year,
Mhm.
so did you think we're going to get ranked this year? Was that in your head?
Unequivocally.
It was,
Yeah.
from day one.
I did. I thought we had too good a football team. I told our guys, I think I might have shared it with you last week, right? Going to Indiana on a long bus ride, right? Like, I felt we had a good football team and I expected to win. What I didn't foresee was us, we lost a tough heartbreaker at the end, the way that we did. But I felt leaving that locker room that I had a better team than I thought I did, and I expected us to win more than we ever have.